Here are a couple of tips to help you with your preparation of the individual study paper. This is for Management 561392, May and June 2013. Now, it's important before you really get into typing your final copy of the individual study paper that you review the guidelines for preparing your individual study. This is located on course information, and I urge you to read it carefully before you do your paper. Remember that my grading plan is to check your paper for three things. It must demonstrate good evidence for substance. It has to demonstrate evidence for significance. And maybe most important is that you indicate very clearly, usually in the form of a paragraph or a conclusion at the end of your paper. Doesn't have to be done that way, but that's typical. But that last section becomes very personal. I want you to feel free to use first person I as you read that, as you write that. I do have the paper written in APA form, but when you get to the final section, because it is intensely personal, I want you to feel free to violate the APA guideline of third person only and use first person when you're doing your conclusion. Now, it's okay if you want to include, as you are writing your paper, you can embed your personal application throughout the paper if you want to do that. I'll be perfectly happy either way. But make no mistake about it, I am looking for personal application. And if I do not find it in your paper satisfactorily, there will be a deduction of points. That's not to be mean and harsh, but it is to insist that if you're going to do individual study, that there be some benefit from it. What's the meaning of individual study if the individual does not benefit from it? That's my rationale in making that requirement. What about your paper? Well, typically a minimum of 2 pages. Try to hold it to 5. I'll be happy to read anything you write, but I want to see at least 2 pages of copy. Now, that does not include your reference page or your cover sheet. I want to see a good paper on your part that demonstrates some good individual study and some good insight into the book or the subject or the interview that you have done, and satisfy that requirement, and you're going to make a good grade on the paper. I do want the paper done in APA format, but if you'll read the guidelines, I'm requiring only the minimum of APA. We're not doing a full-blown APA paper in the strictest sense of the word. I do those in other courses, but not in 5613. The 5 or 6 minimum things that I want to see in your paper are spelled out very simply on the guidelines. So be sure and read those. Most of what you need to know is already typed up for you. You need only read it. So when I pick up your paper, I'm going to be looking for 2 to 5 pages. If you've done a book study, I'm going to be looking for a reference sheet on your paper, even if you list only the book that you are studying. If you're doing a research paper, I need to see a reference page that has at least 3 to 5 academic quality references that support your research. Academic quality means a whole lot more than Wikipedia. Wikipedia is not considered scholarly, but articles from journals like Harvard Business Review, articles from respected newspapers, magazines like Time, Newsweek, whatever still exists. I think U.S. News and World Report has gone out of business. Publications like Wall Street Journal, any trade organization or professional organization, I'm going to consider academic quality. Academic quality typically means the publication has either gone through an editorial board review, or it is what we call peer review if you are finding that reference through the use of a database. like EBSCO or Thomson Gale or ProQuest. If you have any questions about your paper that are not covered in the guidelines, shoot me an email. We will address those. But most of what you need is already spelled out in the guidelines, and it's important that you read those. Have a good week.